All right. Good morning, traders. Well, it feels earlier because it's a lot darker. Good evening, Sandy. And hello, Michael. Hi. And good morning, Perry. Good morning, Bob.
You have 2 items on your shopping list.
Oh,
Bread.
okay. Here we go. Bright and sunny. Bright and sunny for Michael. Good morning, Stephen. Good to see you. All right. Yeah. Well, that's so funny. I completely forgot about daylight savings. I would have brought it up. But Sandy's made the adjustment. We're all here. Good morning. Welcome out for the Market Watch Group weekly opening bell. My name is Scott, and I will be your host. As always, these are the disclaimers. Education illustrative only. We're not brokers. We're not advisors. Yada, yada. Okay, what are we doing today? Checking out the opening futures. So there's some concern. Futures are down a little bit this morning on the open. On not on any news, really, right? Remember that, well, not remember necessarily, but if you've looked at the economic calendar, remember that Tuesday is when the news that we're looking for starts coming out. Tuesday and Thursday of this week is when the big news, the big ticket items are coming out. That will be our CPI numbers and our PPI numbers. And it's all about the inflation. So right now the question is, as we've moved our expectations down the road, do we need to move them further? So we'll look at the futures, they're down. We'll look at the news that's come out. We'll look at the news that's possibly going to come out when we look at the economic calendar. Reevaluate or re-examine our market posture before the open. Just remind ourselves what it is that we think and what we're looking for, because it's hard to, sometimes we get caught up in the myopia, and it's helpful to have that broader perspective. Okay. Mindset for open trades. So that's a big one for us today. I have a feeling that most, maybe all, are carrying at least a few bullish trades, of course, because we're bullish. So the question is, what about those? Well, yeah, you're going to be thinking, am I these trades that I've had for a while and are profitable, and now I can finish them because they're done? Are these trades that I just put on and are at a loss, but I need to be ready to take that loss? Yeah, that's what we're thinking. Watching like a hawk, Bob said. Love it. We'll watch the opening range today, like we always do. Uh, quick question. Those of you who have the ability to kind of peek at the market, watch the market during the day, do you watch the opening range? Do you mark it mentally or with a line on days we don't meet? Do you find it helps to have kind of that watermark, that initial, like, where are we? Always good. Love it. It's very interesting because I came across it was a day trading book way back when I did more day trading and pursued more day trading. And I learned that technique and I loved it. And even when I stop day trading, I still always map the opening range and have a sense of like, okay, Now, of course, there's times where it's like, if it breaks out, it's going to go up, and it does, and then it falls all the way back down. And you're like, oh, and then it falls right back to its opening range. You're like, look at that, and then we get those hammers and inverted hammers, and anyway, the way it plays off around its opening range is what creates a doji. Right? A doji, it started and ended in the same place. So anyway, it's interesting. Okay. Day trade SPX almost every day, butterflies. Are you trading those butterflies directionally or more as time decay? Just excuse me. My body's adjusting to the change, I think, still. We'll look at our shopping list and we'll go through the trading plan section of the week. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. What's first? Let's take a look at the futures. And you can see that overnight they were negative, and then we had an acceleration here in the last little bit. And, if I didn't already know there wasn't news, I would look at this and think, what's the news? And I would go look at the economic calendar. So let's take a peek. You can see that we don't have any major economic news scheduled today. Tomorrow we have a obviously significant report, not the optimism index, but in fact the consumer price index, CPI. Yeah. Okay. I think it's pretty clear that anything other than meeting expectations or beating expectations, if we miss, the market will react negatively. That's my thought. And I feel like we're just right on the precipice for that. That's what we have to be careful for right there. Nothing scheduled Wednesday. Then Thursday we have retail sales and PPI. Okay. Friday, not much. Empire State Manufacturing, industrial production, capacity, utilization. Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick peek at where we are with the Fed, since that's the news, right? Right now, we're not really worried about anything other than the Fed. What's motivating the Fed? Well, what makes the conversation interesting is that the economy keeps showing up strong enough that the Fed gets to be a little bit picky and choosy. If the economy didn't keep hitting it, then there would be a different conversation, and the conversation would involve the balance between, yes, we don't have the inflation where we want, but we also run the risk of a counterproductive recession where we go from sputtering to it choked and died. Right? And so because everything else has been so strong, that's what, allows everything to be pushed and allows the markets to still stay as bullish as we all have, and as bullish as the market has been in 2024. But it can't sustain as we watch it. And so, yeah, let's see. We've got, again, this is, you'll now notice we're a week away, a week from Wednesday. No expectation. We're about 3-1 for May. So the door opened a little bit more, but not much. June is when we have the odds in favor of a cut for the first time. So it's still Q2, late Q2. And by July, the expectation is, 9-1, some rate cut has happened, and 50-50 odds between a 25 and a 50 basis point cut. Okay, so that's pretty stable right now, you'll notice, until what? We get new information. And that's what we're getting. Information, very important information to the Fed. Okay, so let's go back. What else? Bitcoin, man, Bitcoin sets record 71,000. It's so interesting because people love it and then they hate it, love it and then they fear it. It's still a bit the Wild West, for sure. And so, I mean, we put it on our watch list, and if you want to trade it, you have the ability to trade it like any other position, 1%, whatever you put into any given trade. But yeah, that's certainly finding increased attention. What else? Resilient shoppers drive divergence in retail. Okay, retail, it's divergence. We've seen some strength in retail. Key recession and indicators nearing uncharted and it's ominous. So there's always these things here. The Bitcoin it's going through, yeah. Don't they call that the happening or something like that? So funny the things that they do. I'm actually I believe that the concept of blockchain as creating like a digital record that is right. I mean, I think that there's a lot of viability and that there's a lot of unexplored potential. I just don't feel like, I don't know. I think I think you'll see that in the future you can raise money for companies easier doing this type of situation, but we'll see how long it takes to get there and what it goes through along the way. Its biggest hurdle is governmental, right? Because what governments want to control money. That's part of the inherent um, role, I guess, of government, and you can't control that because it's decentralized. So they're going to want to do something to regulate it. And anyway, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to watch it as it continues to shape. All right, market's open. Let's go take a peek. What's going on? All right, so here we are. Is it a catastrophic open? No. You'll notice that the futures were quite overblown. We actually opened down 0.16. We opened in our trend, our existing trend. So does that mean if it drops out of the trend, we're like, oh, it's breaking? No, because it could go right back up at the end of the day, and then we have a hammer. Where's my drawing tools? Where's my drawing tools? There we go. So it could drop down like this, and then when it comes back up, it could go higher than it opened and end up looking like that. That would be a hammer. And we'd be like, oh, that's quite bullish. Or at least we'd think the potential for bullish because the trend held. We'd still want to see an additional confirmation and say, ah, yes, okay. we never want to find ourselves evaluating like the prospects of the market based on Monday's open. It's just the open. Where is it? Where is it relative to where we've seen it? What does that mean to us? Well, it's down. Is it down catastrophically? No. If you're in a bullish trade, is there a good chance that your trade is also down? Of course. Of course, that's what that means. Yes, absolutely. Is everything down? No, but a good amount of things are. We'll get to the watch list here in just 1 second, but there you go. Let's go look at and you can see what are we doing now here? We're 2 minutes in, and we're watching the opening range. We're going to see what does it do, where does it go, etc. Okay. I mean, we had like 20 setups yesterday in the Sunday presentation or the Sunday market prep. We had like 20 setups. Well, setups are just that. What are they waiting for? Triggers. So if today it's down a little bit, does that mean, oh, that's it? All these setups are invalidated? No, it means you're waiting one more day. If you think it's the day 2 and a flag is potential setting up, well, then this is day 3, and you're like, yeah, that's a flag. So again, where is this in context to what we saw? Here is our posture as a reminder. Well, it's not ours. Here is my posture representative of me leading the group in these discussions. Yours could very well be different, but probably close, I would imagine. Or else you're just not speaking up when I say, does anyone see it differently? We try to be empirical and objective in the way that and consistent in the way that we do this so that it's meaningful and we can go back and we can see, what do we think here? So it's strong. We're bullish. And we didn't see anything that says pullback, but we did say that we're seeing a lot of setups, which means the market's kind of been easing into it. If you missed it, long-term trend, everything stayed the same except for volume. And that was actually something we expected. Sandy says she thinks she's a 7. I'm pretty sure Steven said he was a 6.75. I'm pretty sure Perry said the same thing. But yep, Bob's a 6.75. Okay. Yeah, so the only thing that changed for me was the volume dropped. It was an interesting volume score. I think that an argument could definitely be made for a 0, but then you dropped it a half, and the main argument I was making was price advanced. And anytime price advances, my inclination is to score it in favor of the buyers. Unless it's clearly not that way. 6.5. 6.5. Okay, fair enough. Those are all bullish scores, right? The difference between those is negligible. Yeah, that would be the way I would describe it. Negligible. Okay, what else? That's the posture. We did everything here, I believe. And yeah, let's get to the watch list. Let's get to the watch. Oh no, the VIX. Let me get to the VIX real fast. What's the VIX doing? Ooh, yeah. We were hoping for a de-escalation as of right now. And I say as of right now because it very well could retrace. So as of right now, we started around the same place and we've gone up. Now, if the market drops, we could very well see a candle that looks like this. Or if the market recovers, we could see a candle that looks like this with a little shadow to here because we've already been there like that. Okay. And that would put us right back in this area, right back thinking here. Because remember, these were higher, but it's not looking good today, right? It's not looking good today. Additionally, starting up here. Now, this is where if all of a sudden there's something brewing in the market, I say this all the time. I promise you, what we do will help us to see it. And so right now, despite the fact that we're all bullish, absolutely what I see is the fact that this is a pretty heavy spike. If you look back in time, there's other than back in October when things were still a little bit, nasty. Well, from here, the thing about this is that even if, let's say, the market tomorrow stabilizes and then we get some bullishness, if we get some bullishness, what's the market going to do? It's going to pull, or the VIX going to do? The VIX is going to pull back like this. And if we get 2 or 3 days of mild bullishness and it gets like this, and all of a sudden we're back at this moving average and we're boom. Yeah. That's concerning. If that shows up, we're still bullish. We're very bullish. It's not like in that period of time somehow our score is going to drop. But that sort of derails a lot of things for me. And I'm like, oh, I'm adapting to that very quickly. So, do we need to be aware that this is potentially setting up? Yeah, absolutely we do. Now, at the end of the day, we'll all look at this. We'll see where it ended up. If it ends up back down under this area, I'll think, okay, we're all right here. This is still the same basic setup. But if it stays up in this area up here, that's concerning because of that. So heading for a rise according to the seasonal. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. The watch list in full. Let's get to it. How's everyone's trades looking now that the market's open? I'm sure that I have no doubt that as the market opens, you sort of, this first little bit, I try not to we do some easy things. Let's look at the first 5-minute candles. Let's look at the VIX because I know everybody's going to be diving around looking at their trades. Of course you are. Right? Of course you are. I have my platform open on another screen. I look at my own trades for a quick peek. Oh, what's going on? Of course we all do, right? All down. Michael's like all down. Yeah. Understood. So now what? Now we convince ourselves to relax, watch, and not make any rash decisions. Apple. Okay. Look at Apple. Hasn't done enough yet, but the closer it can get on this run to this 180 mark, the better. Because if it can get up there, same kind of thing we just talked about for the VIX, but in reverse, is that if this thing can pop up and get enough back and give us this little V, then its next one could end everything. Am I rooting for this? Always. I'm always rooting for Apple. I'm always rooting for Microsoft. The stronger these are, the easier it is for the NASDAQ to be strong. When the NASDAQ's strong, the easier it is to lead everything else. So right now we're coasting on the strength despite Apple and Google showing this type of weakness. So would we love to see these things reverse and kick back in and then kind of help the next wave? Help give us our March and our April? Yes, absolutely. We're hoping for that. Nothing to trade there now though. AIG, more setup. Like I said, we said this is on our list. Where's my list? Just in case I need to cross anything. AIG was on the list yesterday, developed for this week. Still looks great. If all I said was, "Oh, look at this," would you be like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on"? You'd be like, "Oh, this looks great. I'm getting close." Yes, sir. AMD on the list. This beautiful high flying tech stock just made a great run up. Pulling back. Pulling back means what? Opportunity. Somewhere through here, as this thing continues advancing, we have an opportunity setting up. Why is it not a trade below 50? Which one do you mean? Apple? Yes, Apple. For me, because it's at a lower low, and that means that the sellers are in control. So right now, if you're buying when the sellers are in control. You're counter trend, right? And so the last time it looked like it looks right now, it was right there, and it went up for 2 days, and then it went down for 8 days. So if what happened there happens again, then it's going to go like this next. Am I convinced that's what's going to happen and I'm going to buy puts? Absolutely not. Not at all. I'm not convinced of bearishness when I'm bullish. Of course not. But I'm certainly not convinced of bullishness when this stock is more bearish. So for me, it's just about probabilities. It's below the 50. It's at a lower low. I really am only interested in trading bullish stocks when I can clearly say buyers are in control. And unfortunately, they're not, but we're rooting for them. So go buyers. Amazon, buyers are in control. What are the sellers doing? They just fought like mad for this whole, look at this whole cycle right here. And they went from here to here, and this is how much it dropped. It didn't even, basically it dropped that one candle. So that one big buying candle, that's how much the sellers gave it back. Now that is buyers in control. And so the last time we caught sellers running out of steam and buyers coming in was there. And the time before that there, the time before that there. And there's a little flag right here. These are all wonderful plays. Now, this one is not because of earnings, so I'll cross that off. No gap for us. But the rest of these, those are all viable trade opportunities. And what are we thinking? We think there's could be one setting up here because that's the trend. That's what's going on. So, yeah. Amazon on the list. AXP maybe gonna get on the list. We'll see. We said it could have been started last week, but it also could sputter. Great. If you're not, if you're in it, you're not happy with it. But if you're not in it, you're just gonna watch and see what's next. Boeing, again, Boeing is still in its downward consolidation, and until it establishes otherwise, our expectation is sellers remain in control. BLDR on the list. Every one of these, I'm thinking to myself, I have this basic zone sitting above here as it pulls back, and somewhere in there, I believe there's going to be a trade opportunity. I don't know when. I'm going to keep watching it, but this looks great. Now, remember that we watch big things. These aren't like little one-offs. These are market leaders. The size, if you look at the market cap of our portfolio as an index, right? Let's just say that at any given time, I'm thinking about doing this now in my mind just now. I believe I just had like a genius thought of creating a real-time index based off of our watch lists. I'm going to figure out how and plot it. It's going to be amazing. Just, yeah. Okay. But it's big. The SI Scott's index. It's big. It's it's hard to move. It's not like you can just throw a little money, sprinkle a little money on it, it goes crazy, right? This is heavy market cap, a lot of open interest in liquidity in the options. So Yeah. This looks great. Put it on the list. BX. Yeah, that's iffy. I think you could put it on the list, but it's a little sideways for me. City. Oh, am I sad with City? Of course I am. Does it appear as if City is done and it gave it a good effort? It sure does. Absolutely. Michael's like, ooh, oh, City. He gave it a good shot. Caterpillar setting up on the list. Capital One, kind of sideways, a little too much for me personally. I'm thinking about booting it from the list, and maybe we need to run some searches together. COP. COP. ConocoPhillips. Nah, nothing for us. Costco. Ooh, come on, Costco. Hold that line. Am I right? 50. Come on. Now, if it holds the 50, would I trade it? Because Michael asked, did I not like the other one because it was below the 50? And that certainly contributed. And would I still like Costco because it's still above the 50? And that will certainly contribute. But for me, no. I'm not going to trade this bottom. It was too big for me. This is too big. This is a big drop. Too many levels got taken out along the way, right? All the way down to basically here. So I want to see something like that, where I get that little up, down, up. And you can see it'll look like this. From right here, that was our lowest point. I'm not trying to catch that low. I'm trying to catch this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. And in here, right? And when it's done, the next one. Dividend? No, Sandy. This was, remember, the dividends are the greenies, and these red and blue are earnings. That was the earnings announcement. They beat their earnings, but their guidance was lowered up. I'm assuming. But each one of these higher lows came after what? After this initial, we were sideways and then we were down and we waited. We didn't try to, I'm not trying, we don't need the very bottom. I'm not trying for this very bottom. So I'm not trying for this to be the very bottom. I'm trying for that next piece that gives me the confirmation. Because that one and then the one after and then the one after and then the one after, that's what I'm looking for. So, okay. CrowdStrike on the list. I think that's holding up nicely. We'll see if this can hold in here, then I believe that this trend has sustained. If I could keep drawing it, I would. Woo-wee. Something like that. You get the gist. CSX. Yeah, it's holding up. It's not down. It's just kind of sitting there. I think it's still viable for a setup. Like it could turn. Delta, I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback. Same thing here. We'll see what happens. DIA still looks fine. Ford, I believe, looks like a setup as long as it holds the 50 and it's a higher low, which so far it is. So do we have a setup happening here? Possibly. So where is this? On the list. On the list. Yeah. It's hard to love it if you're in it, of course, fast and all. Ooh, that's new. Ooh, that's new. Let's put it on the list. Bitcoin still going. Looks big. GE maybe consolidating. We'll see. There's gold. So it's a weird little G surge. GBTC for Bitcoin, GE for conglomerates, gold for, I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting set of three. Google doing the same thing that Apple is, and I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it, but right now it is right at the consolidation. It has to do more. It needs 2 more days. If we can get 2 more days and then pull back, then we have something here, right? Otherwise, we just have another low. Home Depot on the list looks great, setting up. IBM on the list. Just made a higher high. Now it's in the process of potentially making a higher low, and we're here for it. Intel, yeah. If it stabilizes at or above that 43 line, I definitely like it. IWM just made a higher high. Now what? Looking for a higher low. JP Morgan, put it on the list. Looks great. Meta on the list. We don't love today, right? We don't love today, but it's been kind of in this weird little grind up, kind of hard. Yeah, I'm okay all the way back as you see this. I'd prefer it stays above this one. But so I would say that's my range right there for a trade. We'll keep an eye on it and we'll see what happens. Microsoft, it's holding up, still above the 50. Netflix holding up. Looks like it's trying to turn. Nvidia pulling back, setting up another trade. Does it have one more parabolic run? Buyers of calls want to know. Implied volatility is high, pretty expensive. Be careful with that. Well, car looks great. I mean, that looks fantastic, right? Just made a new high. We need this, a lot of these things to set up. QQQ looks fine, still uptrending. Raw store setting up real close. Real close. Just waiting for what? Just waiting for a turn. We'll be watching and seeing if we get this, we get that turn. SMCI pulling back, setting up. So if you're in trades, you don't love it because it's pulling back on you. Let's look at the range. If you're the rest of it, you're like, yeah, okay, this is what I need to set things up. There's our opening range, and right now we seem to be breaking below it. So if we scale back, yeah, we may. You can see that the last real support test was right here around 508.25 or so, and that's kind of right where our trend line is. So we'll see if this thing can hold. TPR still viable. Needs to go soon. TSM pulling back. I mean, look, all of these. I think this would be new for us. I didn't put this last time, but now I would. UNP very close. Waiting for some confirmation. I mean, yeah, everything looks good here except for the VIX. The VIX doesn't look great. The VIX is concerning, but we see it. We see it. Here's the thing is I can't look at this and be like, if this thing turns down, we're trading off of the short-term charts that we already have. We're trading because we're getting trade signals. And if the market turns, if we get those signals, the market will go like this. And if those signals last for a week, this thing could come all the way back down and you'll be certainly glad you put new trades on. But if it comes down like this and starts to turn, then you'll certainly want to adjust what you do with any trades you initiate at this point right here over the next couple of days. That's where I am with this. Waste management is still sputtering. Walmart maybe giving us a setup still. Here's our sectors. XBI still setting up. XLB, it's topping out. It's been strong. We'd love to see that pull back. Communication services a little sideways. It's got Google and Meta struggling. So, of course, the whole group's going to have a bit of a struggle. Financials seems to be in a little bit of a consolidation. Still strong. Industrial still strong, but consolidating. Technology holding up. Sure will, Stephen. Staples. Steady. Utilities, a little bit of a pop in utilities, but that's understandable. Healthcare is kind of sitting And consumer discretionary, let's go look at BAC. Then we'll look at the trading plan. We'll call it a day. Absolutely. It's hard because it's so strong that after yesterday and then even today when it up and lower, the buyers have already come back in. But overall, it is overbought. We can see that down here. And it might come like this and then turn, and that's it. That would be like a little flag, and then it pops. So anything in the next couple of days, and then it turns out of it, even though it's overbought, remember that it could stay overbought as this thing just keeps going higher. Yeah, I would say so. And it's another strong stock in a strong sector. Okay. This week's plan. Remember, it's trading rules. All about the rules. Adobe and Dell. Yeah, I'll go back. Remember that any system you trade, it needs a set. And that is what you are distinguishing when you log your trades. Remember, people are like, what do you mean when you say system? I don't have the log. But when it says what system, it's basically what's the source. So if you have a newsletter, it's your XYZ newsletter system. If you have some kind of an system you built yourself, it's I built this system. We track it so that we can quantify how are the results from those individual trades. Okay. And the videos are there. Don't forget that. Don't forget tomorrow night options. We're moving into application phase. A lot of time on the model, a lot of time building charts, and it looks like we'll have a lot of candidates for that tomorrow. So a lot of bullish candidates for buying calls tomorrow. Don't want to miss it. It will be amazing. Adobe, yeah, careful with earnings. They're just a couple of days away. It's been just stuck under its 50 here for a little while. I'm iffy on Adobe for sure. Dell Computers. Well, Dell smashed it on their earnings, just obliterated their earnings, but it has been selling off since. Yeah, it's always hard to know with these, right? Like you're in uncharted waters. It seems like that it's holding up at this support level here, coming out of the gap. So if it could bounce off of that, that's a maybe. But like I said, it's floating up there. All right, listen, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Again, we are pushing hard. I know I'll have a meeting later this afternoon to figure out where we are, get the alerts and the texts going. I believe I asked them, I said, well, do we already have everybody's, text info? But there may be a call for that to make sure we update everything if necessary. Not now, you don't have to they may be right. But all right, so have a great rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow night for options. After that, Wednesday morning for midweek check-in. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy trading.